Good afternoon. According to Charlotte Lyons, in the Ebony magazine published February 2005, her article, Date with a Dish, she stated, "One of the simple pleasures of life is the consumption of chocolate treats." Now, how many of you have enjoyed cookies or desserts or treats around the holiday? Maybe your mom and grandmother go out and make them. Raise your hands. Pretty much everybody. All right. Now, how many of you thought that they just go in the kitchen and close the door and then magically come out an hour later with these delicious treats? I hate to break your bubble, it's not magic. It's just simple steps that today we're going to go over how you can make yourself a tasty treat. All right. In order to successfully make chocolate chip cookies, you need to perform these 3 simple steps. Gather and divide the correct ingredients, mix the ingredients into dough, and cook the dough into a cookie. Now you can pass this around, enjoy one. Hopefully they're enjoyable. Now, if you want to make cookies, you need to start with the proper ingredients. So, there are 2 types of ingredients. The dry ingredients consist of flour, salt, and baking soda. Now don't get baking powder. It's similar to baking soda, but it's not the same. It'll mess up your cookie dough. So get baking soda. The other ingredients are wet ingredients. These include butter, eggs, vanilla extract, granulated sugar, and brown sugar. Granulated sugar, for those of you who don't get around the kitchen, is the white kind of sugar. Not Splenda, just look for granulated sugar. Alright, and you may ask, why have I designated the wet ingredients and the dry ingredients into these classifications? It's because it's crucial to the next step of making cookies, which is mixing the dough. Now when you start, you want to mix the dry ingredients into a small bowl to the left, which is your flour, your baking soda, and your salt. Now according to Nestle Toll House on allrecipes.com, these are the correct measurements for your ingredients. 2 1/4 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1 teaspoon of salt. You get that together, you mix in a bowl, you leave it alone for a second. In another bowl, you will mix 1 cup of butter or margarine. Make sure you soften the butter. You don't want it to be too hard or too soft, because then you'll get like flat cookies and it'll just mess everything up. You just want to soften it a little bit, put that in there. You want 2 eggs in this bowl, 3/4 cup of granulated sugar, and 3/4 cup of brown sugar, and a teaspoon of vanilla. That's important. Then once you have these mixed up over here, the wet ingredients, dry ingredients mixed up over here, you combine them into a big bowl. In this, you want to mix them. I would suggest putting the dry ingredients in first, and then the wet ingredients to mix. Otherwise, when you put the dry ingredients and start mixing, the flour is going to puff up and go everywhere. And it's just a mess to clean up. But you mix these up into a creamy dough, and then you can add in your chocolate chips or your nuts if you're into nuts. I really don't like them, but if you like nuts, you can mix those in with your chocolate chips, and then you're ready to go with your dough. Now this leads you to the final step in the process. And this is an imperative step. You do not want to get this part wrong. The final step is actually baking the dough. Now it is imperative that you do this final step and execute it properly, or else we'll get to the things that could possibly happen in a second. First of all, you want to start preheating your oven. If you don't preheat your oven, you just stick the dough in there and then turn it on, it'll cook unevenly because it'll gradually be getting hotter as the dough is supposed to be cooking, and it's not really good for your cookies. It'll just throw it off a little bit, throw off your timing. You want to place the dough on a cookie sheet in, generally about 1 inch diameter spheres, so you get a nice looking cookie. You don't want to put in like a big line unless you want a bar. That's kind of how they'll cook. So if you want the cookie shape, put it in a circle. And then you want to cook it for 9 to 11 minutes. That's really important. If you leave it in there for an hour, you will have problems. You'll have black cookies and probably a smoked out dorm or burnt down house, none of which equal a tasty treat, so you don't want to do that. And then the last major step of the final stage is, 3 little things. 1, when you take the pan out, use a mitten or a rag. Don't just reach in and take the pan out. You'll burn your hand and drop your tasty treat. You don't want to drop your tasty treat on the floor. It doesn't taste good. Second, when you try and get the cookie off the pan, use a spatula. Put it on a little cooling rack. Don't just try and grab it with your hand, it'll all crumble and mush and then you burn your hand again. use a spatula, put it on a cooling rack, leave it there for 30 seconds for it to harden. Then you can take it off and serve it to your friends. So, in recap, 3 basic steps are gathering and dividing your ingredients. You want to mix your ingredients into a creamy dough, and then bake them properly so you don't burn down your house. I hope this helps you all to take advantage of your opportunities to make your own tasty treats and have memories around your holidays. Thank you.